Well, after 20 years, we finally have the second Monoxide solo album, Chainsmoker 2. Now, this album is a bit odd in how it was pre-order released, and I want to talk about that before we get into any of the music or anything like that. So with this pre-order, there were 2 different options you could get, from what it seems, and as of right now, I do not have my CDs. They are on the way. So, the normal version, which was pretty much presented as a solo album, pretty much, other than, I believe, 1 feature on it, but mainly all solo. But then the deluxe version, which I think is really cool, they have it in a little stash bag, and it comes with bonus tracks, and the bonus tracks are the same ones that are on the solo album, but this time they have features, which pretty unique. I don't know at the moment if it's in replacement or if they're just tacked on to the very end of it. We'll have to wait to see what it's like on Discogs. But the 5 alternate songs are on Spotify. The digital release versions are going to be the deluxe version, basically. There's no solo songs on it. So for this, since as of right now, the 1 music video got released for the 1 single that has the solo Monoxide version. So that will be tacked in here with the other one, but you might see a part 2 to this maybe in the coming weeks, where I talk about the other 4 tracks that are completely solo now, as they're not available on YouTube. There was no digital download that I'm aware of. I'll check again, but there's no way to really access them unless you get the CD and open them up, and for me, I am a sealed CD collector, unfortunately. So after listening to the album the whole way through, first reaction, I gotta say I am impressed and blown away at how this album turned out. The whole album from start to finish, construction-wise, it went well. Nothing felt really out of place, and everything kind of blended in well. Even the skits and the introduction, which is probably one of the funniest things for an album, nothing really felt out of place. Everything pretty much felt like it kind of clicked together, like surprisingly. Through the whole thing, the mix and the production was done really well. There was no adjusting of the volume, which, for albums, I love that. I love when I don't have to touch the volume button in order of either having to hear it or save my hearing. So like I said prior, for this review, we are going over basically the entire deluxe version with the features, as, like I said, nothing's available right now other than the 1, which we will get to. You already know what it is, the music video's out for it, whatever. First, we have the intro. It's funny, it calls back to the original Chainsmoker album with Long Live Chainsmoker, and then he just starts throwing up. Next, we have FAFO, which is F around and find out, basically. And I like how it comes in. It's very subtle, if that makes any sense. And it's not just blasting you in the face with something. It's very just kind of creeps in and then it comes in with the punch. And it is honestly really well structured. Like I say, you will hear me say that a lot of times because I like talking about that. It should be a thing. Songs should have structure unless it's Captain Beefheart's Trout Mask Replica. And that, the structure, just throw shit at a wall, see what sticks. And it definitely, I would have to say, has one of the catchiest choruses, the hooks on this album. I don't know, not like sing-along wise, but memorable wise. Like, it definitely makes sense with it all. And it has the bass, like the 808 bass, whatever you want to call it. It is pumping, and for this one, it is like, I don't know, I don't think they call it side chaining or whatever they call it. It's basically like, it's like linked together. I'm gonna call it that, like linking it together. As soon as the kick goes, you hear the bass go. That's how it works, and I like when that happens. Is my face in focus? Probably. Next up is the song Blown Away, which is the only one I believe that has a feature on both. It's James Garcia / Young Wicked, as I'm going to say on here, just because there might be some people in the Juggalo community that might not know his name changed over, so we'll just keep it at that for now. And right away, you can hear this booming piano come in. It's like very dark and eerie, and I love it. And also, another thing in there, I don't know if a lot of people catch it, because I had to listen again and again and again when I'm like doing the track by track, and I finally caught it. And I'm someone who likes to inspect the music. There's like a good amount of strings like that has a good stay throughout the song, and then same with like an angelic choir in the background. I will say, like, for flow wise, like how they kind of go over the track and all that, Monoxide has probably the best flow on this one in my opinion. I like how it's like, It seems like it goes faster and slower, and it kind of does not, like, run too far ahead of it. It kind of dances around the beat in a nice way, and that's what I like to see. Now we have one of my favorite tracks on this album. As soon as I heard it, I was like, ooh, nice. It is the track I See Everybody Dead. A very heavy-feeling track to me, and what I'd like to call a slimy, like, 808 through it. Like, it's not smooth, it's not like a normal bass 808 you hear in the background, and it's not very crunchy, it's not very crisp. It's kind of that, like, wet, slimy, like, middle ground. If that makes any sense to anyone that does music. It's like, it has that weird feel to it. I think it reminds me, the closest I can think of is Dope D.O.D's song Trapezoid. Has kind of the same kind of, like, 808, like, style. But theirs is more of a crispy end, but that's the only thing I can compare it to. And it's a very, very heavy-hitting and catchy song for me. I love how the vocals kind of fit right in the track so well. And one thing I found interesting, it seems very, very minimalistic in how the melody is. There's no, like, extra little sound effects. There's no, like, twinkling in the background, whatever the hell. There's no added stuff in there to make it feel more. It pretty much holds its own as it is with what it's got. And I love that with a song, how it's just that. Next is the interlude, You Said It. And honestly, nothing really special about it. It's a silly interlude. I don't really want to count these in reviews because it's like a little skit. It's not meant to, like, whatever, in my opinion. Next up, we got the track Smoke Train with the features of Blaze and Joey Black from Al Azul Ilu. And what did I said that way too fancy, like, what the fuck? Overall, it is a neat song, and one thing that I find surprising is I don't remember many times through MNE's career with AXE that there was like a solo feature from one of them. So it's like, it's a nice treat, but also at the same time, Blaze being on this album is a given. Like, you can't have one of these albums without him. He's like a classic, and it is a nice feature put onto the track, I will say that 100%. And one thing I like about the melody or the instrumental of it, the drums were being a bit more mellow in my opinion. They don't really seem as in your face as some songs that I've heard before, and the melody is interesting because you hear that plucking in the beginning, and it's pretty much throughout it. It sounds like, in my opinion, a banjo or even a dulcimer, and not the hammer one. There are plucking ones. I will say one thing, like throughout this all, but especially on this track, no one's vocals seem to be louder than the others. No one's too quiet. Everyone's pretty much at the same volume level, and I think that is a very nice touch to it, because that way, I've heard songs before where it's like someone sounds louder than the other, and it's worse when it's like right after another. There's not even like a chorus to kind of break in between. It's like you go down here and it's like or just this. So it's neat. I like that everything kind of flowed well again. Now we get to Not Normal, which this time we can talk about two versions of it. Woo! The first one is with Madrox, and being the first single off the album, I felt that it had pretty big shoes to fill. You're coming after like pretty much a 20-year-old album at this point, and you announced part 2 to it. You want the lead single to be kicking. I think it kicked. And this one had a very funky beat to it with a weird 808 attached to a kick that seemed to swell, and another kind of like the weird normal melody part of it that either seemed like a xylophone or marimba. Now, if you don't know what a marimba sounds like, look up a video of Ruth Underwood, who played with Frank Zappa through, I believe, late 60s into like early, at least mid 70s, I'd say. She's probably one of the best players of that stuff I've heard. You hear, there's a video of her doing like that Zappa signature. It is like, it's a good like earworm. It like scratches my brain just right hearing it. Manu's verse comes into this very well. It's another really catchy chorus on this. That's one thing I'll give it. It has a couple good choruses on this. And Madrox's verse seems to come in nice as well. It really fits. It honestly seems like it could be an outtake off of like Electric Lettuce or whatever that weird EP was that they did. I think for Astronomicon, and what was it called? The Dime Bag, Nickel Bag, whatever the hell it was. It was that jewel case one that I'm not paying a lot of money for. For the solo part, Monoxide's verse is added where Madrox's was. And it's really weird hearing only the solo version after we've had this one, I believe, since, I think it was like since December, right? Like, it's been a minute. And I think I remember Black Friday is when we started seeing the singles come out. But pretty much going from that one for a couple months to the solo, it was a really weird feeling to it. But it took me, I'd say, 2 listens to get warmed up to it, to get to know it more, and it really fit well within it. It feels to me like an entirely new song, which I think is cool, and I'm excited to hear the other solo versions. Is That You is the second interlude / skit, and another one is just really nice and silly. This one's about 2 minutes long though. I would have liked it to be maybe a minute and a half. I felt like it started to drag on a bit longer, but still not bad. This is probably my first take, and probably the most like harsh, even though it's not really harsh. Anxiety. This is the next track on here, and honestly, I could do without it. I'm just saying that right now. Whoever shoot me, whatever the fuck, I don't care. It could have been left off the album, and I wouldn't have minded. And it's not really that it's bad. I want to say that it's not a bad track. It's not really produced bad or anything. The features with Boondocks and Young Wicked on it really fit well. I'm surprised even with Boondocks featuring on a track, because it's very hard to hear him talk. That sounded weird, but let me explain. He has a southern twang. He mostly does well on like the southern melodies or like the country rap style. He doesn't really, in my opinion, flow so well on others. It's like you gotta really get it in there. But this one he worked out well on. I'm not gonna say good, I'm not gonna say bad. It was kind of a good middle ground. And obviously Young Wicked's vocals come in nice, crisp, flowing well, whatever you want to call it. But for me, this track didn't really click with me as the other ones do. This is probably the only one that I'm like filler on, even though it's not really like bad. It's an okay one, I'll say that. Bad Medicine is another one with a weird, funky beat to it. It's actually more mellow as well. Mono's vocals on this are honestly, I feel like they just cut through it like a hot knife with butter, basically. It works for me. I like it. It's neat. And from some reason, this instrumental makes it feel like more of like a mystery or mysterious. I don't know how to say it other than that. I feel like I should be watching like an alien documentary pretty much. Now we got BMA, the baddest MFer alive, featuring Madrox again, and then Gmo Ski, which, first off, nice to see Gmo Ski back on MNE, and now he's putting out his second EP since he's been back. Like, that just got released pretty much today as I'm recording this, that, the one with Stu Bangers, I believe. And it's cool to see him on an actual MNE track for once. It's been a hot minute since we've heard him, and it's nice to hear him back. He really fits well with pretty much anyone in the crew. And I love that it is a guitar-based track. I believe Young Wicked did the guitar on this one, because he did show a video of him doing the solo on it. Which honestly, the solo at the end is like chef's kiss. It's good for, honestly, for a like rap song. I'm not gonna say he's Eddie Van Halen or like Jimmy Page or whatever. He's not like super expertise, whatever the hell, but he's good in this way, and it works with the song. Nothing feels really out of place. It all feels like it kind of flows within itself really well. And also, one thing I do like is, as well on this, again, I feel like I said that twice probably, is the live sounding drums. I don't know if they're live, I don't know if they're programmed, I don't know if they were done on an electric drum set. I like hearing the live sounding drums with the guitar. It feels like more of like a hard rock track in a way. It gives it that feel versus having the guitar and like trap drums or whatever. It's good to match them up with the song. The last single released for this was called The Night They All Died, and it features Madrox and the ROC, and pretty much if you want to water it down to what it is, it's just another House of Crazy song. At this point, guys, Madrox, Monoxide, ROC, just put out a House of Crazies album. You put out singles every year for the songs of Sam Hain and shit like this. Just put out a new EP or album. Like, come on, you already are making the songs for it, why not kind of make your own thing? People will buy that shit. And given that it's basically the House of Crazy song, I do enjoy it. It's nice. It's a good, creepy horror feel to the beat and all that stuff. And one thing I really like is the reversed swelling drums. I heard that the first time, I'm like, ooh, nice. And the vocals in this is probably one that's like, they don't really, the features are like, okay, they're there. at that point, I'm pretty much treating it like a House of Crazy song rather than a Monoxide featuring song. I have to hear the solo version to really kind of separate myself from it to make it sound like a full Monoxide track. But regardless, it's still nice. Really mixed well together. No one felt out of place. Cool. Last track, another real favorite of mine. I have 3 so far out of this whole album, is Turn the Lights Off. I love the more mellow and like sad feeling to this song. It's with the pianos and all that. And it doesn't really seem like a rap. It feels like he's just venting stuff out. I don't want to go conspiracy theory looking into this, but it's like some stuff started to poke out to me or whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything here, but it felt more of like venting everything out, and I like that. And the piano and strings were also like a nice track for the ending. It made it really feel kind of like you're bringing it home. I don't know how, it just worked. And the drums don't really overpower it at all. That's one thing I worry about when you get these kind of songs. It's either going to be like no drums, or you're going to have all the drums. There's very rarely where it's like, okay, this works okay where it is. And I think this is probably one of the best choruses. Probably not the catchiest, but probably one of the best. I don't know 100% at the moment, but it does sound like it's Young Wicked on the chorus, even though he's not featured, but he's featured on Blown Away. So it might be him, it might be like an auto-tune Monoxide, I don't know. And also, there is a faint guitar through it, and then it kind of comes more noticeable throughout it. It's a nice little touch to the track. It's like sprinkles on ice cream. Doesn't really add much flavor to it, but it's there and it makes it look nice. It makes it pretty much sound good. Now we're going to talk about the ear appeal. If you don't know what that is, look at my other videos. It's pretty much me talking about it again. And if I had to give it a score for the ear appeal, I'd say this is an 8 out of 10. Getting up there. Bones.zip with a 7. This is an 8. And I'm going to say it because of the past week, it's been on repeat at least 2 to 3 times a day. .zip was maybe 1 or 2 a day at most. This is 2 to 3. The first day I listened to it like 4 times. I'm going to be 100% honest. And I think over the next month, it might shorten to maybe 1 play a day or every other day. But in my opinion, that's good. That's good. It's still in rotation after a month. But this is an album I will say is really fresh and keeps me hooked. Nothing really feels like out of it. The mix from start to finish is tight. Everything seems to flow into each other well without any sort of volume problem. All like drums know their place, the melody knows its place, the bass knows its place, the vocals know its place. Everything knows where it needs to sit in the track, and I feel like this is one that it's like it pretty much nailed it, other than like a couple tweaks here and there. And again, you will see me talk about the solo tracks when I can find them again, but for now we're pretty much just doing it as it is. And nice. If I had to give it an overall score, and for this I am excluding the intro and the 2 interlude skits, because that's not really music based. That's mainly just vocals, and they're mainly just put there to kind of like, in my opinion, they're there to beef up the album a bit, but doesn't really take away from it or give to the album, so they're neutral. And I'd say overall score for the album is an 8.5 out of 10. 85%, there we go. It is very well done. And one thing I would say, go buy the album. Go buy it. The regular version is still available. The deluxe version and the packaging, I believe that is now sold out. That sold out like the day after the damn thing came out. Like that was quick. It was so quick that I couldn't even get the double package version of it where they had to pre-order for 2. I had to order each one separately, so it cost me a couple extra dollars, but whatever, I waited, and that's what I did, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting them both, I'm happy. And, yeah, the good thing is, you can hear the deluxe versions, because pretty much they were the songs released already. That was like Smoke Train, Not Normal, Night They All Died. I'm pretty sure Anxiety will have a solo version, all that stuff. So they're not lost, they're not going to be hidden, you just can't get the physical copy of it, and good luck finding that. I wish I would have bought 2. But regardless, if you liked it, let me know down below. Like, comment, subscribe, share, do what I can. See you in the next one.